I found a new purpose for this book, which is to just write things that I want to tell my late mother. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's episode, I'm not sure if it's something y'all would be interested in, but a friend suggested me I should talk about my journals. So today, that's what I'm gonna do. So these are only like 4 of my journals. I have like a whole shelf full of my journals, which I can do a different video on if y'all like, but yeah, today I'm gonna be talking about my journals because I learned this new term on TikTok. It's called the journal ecosystem. So the journal ecosystem is basically journals that you have in your rotation, whether you use it daily or you use it frequently. So I thought it was pretty cool and I wanted to show y'all my journal ecosystem. I think the term journal ecosystem existed because some people, they don't like to compile everything they do into one notebook. If you don't know, there are different types of journals, whether it's junk journal or bullet journals or an everything journal. So it really depends on your creativity. What I saw on TikTok, like some people, they have up to like 6 journals in their rotation, which I aspire to be because I could barely keep up with this 4. For those of you who don't know, I have been journaling since I was 14, I think. I don't journal every day. Sometimes I am in a slump where I don't journal for months. There was even like a phase back then, like a period of time where I didn't journal for years, and then I out of nowhere got into it again. So it really depends on my mood. So this couple of days I just started journaling again. I think the last time I journaled was in January before I moved here. So 2 days ago I started journaling again, and I was on the journaling side of TikTok, so that's where I was inspired to do this video. So today we are going to talk about my journal ecosystem. So there are 4 books in my ecosystem and they have 4 different functions, and we're gonna get into it one by one. So the first one is my junk journal. I got this notebook from my friend Ilya, who went to Japan last year, so she got me this notebook. So this notebook is pretty unique to me. As you can see, the pages are like connected. This kind of notebook is called, I just learned the term, so this type of notebook is called the Go Shuincho notebook, where it's not your usual typical notebook where the spine is like at the side. For this one, it's all connected. So there's like the front one and then there's like the back one. I use this as my junk journal and I just started it yesterday. My previous junk journal finished, the notebook finished, and this was the only available notebook that I have, and I didn't want to wait. I was feeling inspired yesterday, so I don't want to ruin the mood by like waiting to buy a new notebook, so I just used this. I actually wanted to save this notebook for a more creative concept because of how the pages are. But again, like I said, I didn't want to ruin my mood yesterday, so this was the only available notebook that I had. And I don't regret it, honestly, because like, although it's similar like my previous junk journals, I still had fun with it. And there are different things that I don't use in my previous junk journals, and I can do a separate video about my junk journals, like my process, the things I use and stuff. But in short, junk journals are basically just a lot of like scrapbooking or collaging, or if I go out and like the receipts, I would keep any paper bags, any kind of memorabilia, I would just keep it and like paste it inside this notebook. So let me show you an example. So the one on the left, right, this bottom one is a ticket to an event that I went in, I don't remember, in 2019 at Istana Budaya. So it was an event at Istana Budaya and I had the ticket still, so I decided to stick it in my junk journal. And then there's also like receipts in it. Sometimes I would write in my junk journal, sometimes I would draw, so it really depends on my mood, like what I want to do. Sometimes it's as simple as just pasting a bunch of stuff. So basically that's my junk journal, but I can get into more details in a different video if y'all want. But moving on to my next journal in my ecosystem is my sketchbook. So I use this book specifically just for when I'm feeling artsy, I guess, when I want to draw, I want to paint, I want to use color pencils, I want to use markers. So I still use those stuff in my junk journal, but not as like the main thing. As for this book, it's solely just drawings and stuff. So let me show. So it's just like drawings, and like I would use paint. This one time I was bored, so I just used like a bunch of highlighters, and this was when I was experimenting with paint, I think. This was yesterday. I used markers. So yeah, I am not the greatest artist, but again, I use it as like a creative outlet when I don't feel like pasting stuff, I don't feel like taking out my journaling stuff. I just want to take out a notebook and a pencil or maybe a marker. I use this journal. Next in my ecosystem is the everything journal. So what is an everything journal? It's in the name, honestly. Like you can use it however you want it. Grocery list, to-do list, motivation quotes, calculations, anything. So this is what I use just to write absolutely anything. It doesn't matter, like it doesn't have a structure, it's not the most aesthetic. So let me show. The first page is just like an entry I wrote in 2021. It's just a random like thoughts I had, so I just decided to write it here. And then when I was working in retail and I had to bring around a notebook, I also wrote it in this book. And then during the time I was unemployed and I was going for interviews, I used this book to write out questions I wanted to ask or write out information about the company I was interviewing for. So yeah, there's no specific structure for an everything journal. And then out of nowhere, it's my cat's vaccination card. Anyways, oh yeah, before I forget, I got this notebook from Mr. DIY, I think. So FYI, Mr. DIY Taman Shimilin Perkasa had the best notebooks. I'm not so sure now because I haven't been there in a while, but back in like 2021, 2022, it had the best notebooks. I would only get my notebooks from Mr. DIY because they're so pretty and cheap. And back then I would go to like different Mr. DIYs like in different locations. They were not as good as the one in Taman Shimilin Perkasa. But now I'm not so sure, but back then it had the best collections. So this was from Mr. DIY. I think this was $5. And then this was also from Mr. DIY, and this was less than 10, I assume, because I would not pay for something like this if it was more than 10 ringgit. So yeah. And then lastly in my ecosystem, this book is from Noko, the Kedai 2 ringgit shop, and it's so pretty and it had a lot of different designs back then. When did I buy this book? I think it was 3 years ago. I don't remember. So I haven't been to the shop lately, so I don't know if they still sell it, but it's so pretty. The only downside is that it's a lined notebook, not like a blank or like a bullet notebook. So this last notebook in my ecosystem is an idea I got from TikTok. So I call this journal the no contact journal. So what I put in the front page is messages I never sent. So basically, I whip out this journal whenever I feel like texting someone I shouldn't text. Whether it's a boy I used to talk to, or friends I used to be friends with, or just in general people I can't reach out to anymore. Or maybe people I can reach out to but it might not be a good idea. So I would write whatever I wanted to say in this notebook. So it's very therapeutic because I still get to let out what I want to let out, but at the same time I don't make that bad decision of contacting that person. So yeah, there's like, I would never let anyone read this, by the way. It's so embarrassing. And then I think I found a new purpose for this book, which is to just write things that I want to tell my late mother. I mean, I can still text her. Her number is still like available, but with this book I think it's less embarrassing. And I mean, at least I wouldn't let anyone read it, so it's more intimate that way, and I don't hold back. I just write whatever I actually want to tell that person. So yeah, this is the last journal in my journal ecosystem, with a total of 4 journals in this ecosystem. Like I said, I don't use it every day. I wish I had more journals in this ecosystem. At least journals that I've always wanted to try. Like, for example, I've always wanted to put like a small journal in my handbag, so I would have a notebook wherever I go. But then again, I'm not the type of person to just whip out my pen and paper and then like just suddenly start journaling in public. I'm trying to be that person, but I'm not yet that person. But yeah, that's one of the journals that I want to start. And then there's also like the dream journal. I have a lot of very vivid dreams. For those of you who don't know, I'm a dreamer. Like, I would dream the weirdest stuff, and I don't have anyone to talk about it with. Not in like a sad way or whatever, just in a like, why would I bother someone about my dreams, you know? So I thought of like doing a journal so I could just like write out what I dreamt about. So yeah, I'll try. But yeah, that is all from this week's video, which is the journal ecosystem. It was so exciting to do this video. Like I said, I could never shut up about my journals. I could never shut up about journaling, and I would definitely do more video in the future. I would go in depth, or if you guys have suggestions or if you guys want to know stuff, I am more than happy to talk about it. Thank you for listening.